Okay, just confirm you can hear me. Okay, if you're here, please just kindly confirm you can hear me. Okay, if you're here, please just drop in the chat session and confirm you can hear me. So we go ahead. Oh, okay, beautiful. Thank you so much, Rachel. Um, okay, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Okay, so much, everyone. So sorry for the initial time. Um, okay, so please let's share this link and get ready to go. I wouldn't be coming back to check whether or not you guys can hear me. So I would be on chat with, okay, beautiful. So if at any single time you cannot hear me, please, Rachel or Chuko or anyone that's here, just give me a call so I can be sure, because as soon as I get to the slides, and most likely not leave the slides to come here. So that would be, so also initial part of the slides. Please confirm that you can see it. Okay. Okay. So we'll just go ahead. Once again, welcome everyone to the first SGM for 2024. It's going to be quite a lot of amazing time here. It's going to be fun for me. I just definitely want to be sure it's going to be fun for you. So you can share the link. We'll be talking about redefining purpose, which I've over time talked about again and again and again. But this one will be completely different because we'll be looking at purpose from a different angle, one that a lot of people haven't seen before. So pay very good attention. You would not want to miss any single bit of this, okay? So pay very, 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 very keen attention to this. So I'll be going over to the slides to start up now. And I would love every single one of you to get your jotters as we proceed. Okay, so redefining purpose. Now, the first thing we are going to be talking about today, when it has to do with redefining purpose, the very first thing, okay, let's see. Okay, so let's look at our introduction. The first thing we'll be talking about is purpose. This is the whole idea, and I love this picture. I love this picture that's portrayed here. We need to begin to see and understand purpose from the right perspective. If you understand purpose from the right perspective, I can promise you it's going to be way more beautiful than you think. Some people see purpose and feel purpose as this hard, difficult thing to do, to experience. Some people feel probably they would have to get to 90 or 100 before they can fully begin to experience purpose. And those are all just jargons. So, what I'll be sharing with us this evening is the real concept of purpose. Original. Allow me to do a little bit of disclaimer here. I can guarantee, above everything you have heard or listened to about purpose, this one stands out completely. And there are a lot of reasons why this one stands out. The very first reason why this stands out is because it covers the very basic understanding of every concept. The way you understand your studies in school, the way you understand the things you do, that's the same way you need to understand purpose. Purpose shouldn't be different from one of your physics topics or your chemistry topics, and that's the primary objective here. And so, purpose is the fundamental aspect of human life. Purpose is what guides our actions, decisions, growth. And the worst part of everything is that the very guiding force of an entire life is misunderstood. We misunderstand the very guiding force of the human life. And so, if we want to be able to if we want to be able to 100% understand purpose, we have to challenge the misconceptions about purpose. We have to challenge everything that makes purpose misunderstanding to us. We have to redefine it, and that's the primary objective of this. So, this SGM, it's basically to redefine your understanding of purpose and to provide you with more actionable and insightful approach. Primarily, that's just what it is. So we are here just so that we change the way we see purpose. And so if you're not ready to change the way you see see purpose as a concept, you may want to really consider being here. And so we are here to change the way we see purpose, hoping that when we change the way we see purpose, we will literally be able to do better and one, be able to get our lives more intact. So with that being said, let's go over to the misconceptions of purpose. Now, this is the basics of everything. What are the things we understand wrong about purpose? And there's so many of them, but I want to start with 8 of the most simple ones. So I want to start with 8 of the most simple ones. The very first one is the fact that purpose is fixed, is single, and it's fixed. That's a very first one. Purpose is single and it's fixed. Most people believe that, for instance, when I talk about my purpose is to go to the White House and to become the vice president of the United States. And that is what people see purpose as. They see purpose as this fixed, this static thing that somebody is supposed to achieve. And so every single time you're puzzled by the question, what is my purpose? What you're looking for in your mind is one very straightforward, simple thing that you can do, which is not the goal, which is not the concept. Okay. The second thing is this: people believe that purpose comes from outside. There's an external validation. So when you think that your purpose has to be validated by others, or your purpose has to be, somebody has to tell you your purpose. And so primarily, even in a religious setting where people begin to seek the guidance of prophets for the revelation of their purpose. Why that is substantial in a way, you need to understand that purpose is internal. How do you use your phone? Do you use the carton of your phone to use your phone? Do you use the manual of your phone to use your phone? Your phone is on your hand. Some of us are using devices and we are listening to me. You need to understand that in the context of purpose, it is not external. You're not looking for purpose. There is nothing like finding purpose because it's not missing. It's like waking up in the morning and say you're finding yourself. You're finding your name. It's inside you. Yes, there's a process of discovering purpose, but the real concept of purpose is realizing purpose. Okay, so purpose is not outside. You don't need anybody in the discovery or the realization of purpose. Now, purpose is not related to your career. Because some people, when it gets to when they want to make career decision, the first thing they start thinking about is purpose. Like, so what's my purpose? How does my purpose? Do I choose this course or do I choose this concept just to reflect purpose? But that's not how it works. It is not how it works completely. You do not need, it doesn't matter what you do, whether you're a medical doctor, whether you're an engineer, whether you're a pharmacist, whether you're even a mechanic, whether you're a sales rep, whether you're a marketer, it doesn't matter what you do. Your purpose is not and cannot be limited to your profession or your career. As a matter of fact, you can pick a wrong career and still fulfill your purpose. That's the point. The fourth one which I've talked about briefly, is that purpose is a journey. It's not fixed. It evolves over time. It's a journey. It's a process. Okay. So let's look at the fifth misconception. Now, a lot of people tie purpose to happiness and comfort. So some people begin to tie their purpose to happiness and comfort. So because I'm not happy with my life, or because I'm not comfortable, then means that I'm not fulfilling my purpose. Now, there are two different things. You fulfilling purpose is different from you being a happy person, and it's completely different from you. It's completely different from you being comfortable. So you can be comfortable and still not be living on purpose. You can be happy and still not be fulfilling purpose. Okay, because purpose is not tied to any age. There is no law that states you must be 13 years to find purpose. You must be 35 years to find your purpose, or for you to realize your purpose. You must be 40 years to realize your purpose, or even worse still, if you're 35 and you have not realized your purpose, it's over for you. All those are trash and lies. Your purpose has nothing to do with your age. Your purpose does not necessarily have to be extraordinary. There is this concept that some of us have derived from motivational speakers across the world. And the concept, very funny, and the concept is the fact that if you must fulfill purpose, then your purpose must be extraordinary. That's the idea. Every single time we talk about purpose discovery, most people begin to attach an extraordinary accomplishment to it. Your purpose does not necessarily have to be extraordinary. Your purpose can be as simple as as being a waitress in a restaurant. It can part that can be a part of your purpose. That can be a part of your purpose. So realizing your purpose or working on purpose really is about a journey. It has nothing to do with your age, and distinctively nothing to do with whether you're happy or you're not happy or you're comfortable. And your purpose that its purpose does not mean you have to be the president of the country, doesn't mean you have to end up the CEO of a bank. It doesn't have to do with greatness. Purpose is purpose. Extraordinary accomplishment is extraordinary accomplishment. They are different. Don't tie your mind to the fact that if you must be fulfilling your purpose, then you have to be doing something extraordinary. That is not true. The seventh reason, the seventh misconception of purpose is the fact that it is specific and it is solo. It's something you do alone. It just has to do with you. You are your purpose, in your purpose, by your purpose. That's not it at all. There are different concepts to purpose. I'm going to be teaching you all that in the next few minutes, and you're literally going to experience transformation. Literally. Because how would you imagine that God would put you in a world? Let me even take the religious concept of a supreme deity. How do you imagine that you are staying in a world of 8 billion people, and your purpose is tied to only you and dependent on only you? How can you play it as a logic? Like, even mathematically, it is impossible for that to happen. Impossible. Okay. So one other misconception is the fact that your purpose has to do with perfection and has to do with the expectation of others. So the idea that somebody has to be pleased with your life for you to be working or living on purpose, or for you to realize and work in your purpose, it's wrong. I'll go over these things one more time, because this is the reason why you are not accomplishing your purpose, why you are not living on purpose, why you have not realized your purpose. You're thinking purpose is a fixed idea. For you, purpose is just all about something you're going to fulfill, being the vice president of the country, being the CEO. That's not it. Purpose is not external. You don't need the validation of everyone in your purpose. Your purpose is internal. Purpose is not found, purpose is realized. Purpose is not found, it's realized. It has little or nothing to do with your career. It has little or nothing to do with your career. You can have a right career choice and still not be living on purpose. You can have the wrong career choice and still be living on purpose. You can have the right profession and still be living on purpose. You can have the wrong one and still be living on purpose. Okay, it's not a static destination. Purpose is not a static destination. It has nothing to do with your happiness or your comfort, nothing to do with your age or accomplishing something extraordinary. It cannot be only your thing. Your purpose is diversified. It has direct connection with so many other people in life that you would meet. And so these are the things you need to understand about purpose. Now let's talk about redefining purpose, which is the core of what we are looking at. Now, instead of seeing purpose as a destination, one of the things you need to try to do is consider purpose as a process. Just imagine this. Instead of you thinking or imagining that purpose is just one single thing you accomplish, no, no. Think of purpose like a process. And this is what I want you to do. Imagine a teenager who wants to be a doctor. Imagine someone who wants to be a doctor. And imagine that the person's goal or objective or purpose, as they would say, is to be a medical doctor or a surgeon. Now, that is supposed to be the purpose. But you see, if it's going to take you 7 years to be a doctor and you're giving admission, maybe if you're in Nigeria, JAM, you're giving the JAM admission to be a medical doctor. Can you sit down in your parents' house for 7 years just because you have an admission and then you end up becoming a medical doctor? No, right? Good. So if you cannot sit down in your parents' house and happen to be a doctor because time passed, that means there's a wrong understanding of purpose. Purpose is not a destination. Does it make sense? If purpose were a destination, it would be as simple as desiring it, sitting down, and then it comes to pass. Now, imagine that student who primarily wants to be a medical doctor. Just imagine. The person has to resume school, pay school fees. The person has to pay for examination, pay for hostel fee. The person has to attend classes 5 times a week, literally over 40 weeks in a year. The person has to attend tests. The person has to go for practicals, all sorts of practicals. The person has to, do you understand? All these things that leads to the person becoming a doctor is what we call purpose. Purpose is the journey with all of its components, as it's a part of what purpose is. The journey with all of it, it's not just about the title being medical doctor. It's the journey. It's the journey. Purpose is everything you go through in becoming a medical doctor. Let me see if I can establish this one last time. Being a medical doctor, if that is your objective or that is what you're supposed to call your purpose, that is not a purpose. It doesn't work that way. Your purpose, if your objective or your destination is becoming a medical doctor, your purpose are all the classes you must attend, all the tests you must pass, all the examinations you must pass, all the practicals you must do. That is what your purpose is. What I'm trying to do is to shift your perspective here. When you hear purpose, I want you to think about process, not destination. Process, not destination. Process. Okay. So now let's look at the concept of destiny, because some of us have mistaken purpose for destiny. Destiny is a different thing altogether. Now, if you're looking at my screen, you're definitely seeing a man between two roads. This man here has a destiny. The destiny of this man is whichever of this road he ends up getting to the end of it. That's his destiny. He has a choice to make. His choice is going to lead to his destiny. His purpose is the experiences he's going to have on the road to that his destination. I will say it again. This man here, please let me know if you can see me clearly, or you can understand this very clearly. Okay. Now, in the concept, listen very carefully, guys. This is very important. I beg you. This picture here, it's very, very, very simple. This man has a choice to make. His choice basically has to do with this man has a choice to make. So this man has a choice to make. So this man has a choice to make. His choice basically has to do with where he ends up in this journey. Am I going to go right or am I going to go left? His destiny is wherever he ends up at the end of the day, whether right or left, is his destiny. His purpose is every experience he has between his choice and his destiny. So the context of the concept of destiny, it's a key thing. The concept of destiny is a key thing when it comes to redefining your purpose. You need to understand redefining purpose. You need to understand that destiny is not purpose. The predetermined or divinely guided outcome that somebody ultimately ends up in is destiny. That's not purpose, darling. That's not purpose. And so when you think about purpose, you think about the outcome of his choices. When you think about destiny, you think about where he ends up in. So the destiny of the teenager we had looked at in the previous slide is to become a medical doctor. That's the destiny. If the person ends up there, we can confidently say the person has fulfilled destiny. That's the idea. The idea is that if this person ends up a medical doctor, the person has fulfilled destiny. But the idea of purpose, is, what does a person have to go through between choice and destiny? That's the idea of purpose. Now, before we consider, like I said, this is very extensive, but I'm trying to make sure that I shrink it as much as possible. Okay, and so now let's look at the origin of purpose. I always tell people that when you want to really know the truth about something, go to where it started from. Go to the beginning. A lot of us learn and study things about purpose, but we don't even ask ourselves the concept of purpose. Where did it even start? The word we use for purpose, what does it really mean? The people who gave that word meaning, what were their intention? And so you're going to, looking at my screen here, you're going to realize that the word purpose is 13th century. Like, this is the 21st century, just to give you context. Okay, it's like 8 centuries ago, literally almost 1,000 years ago. And the word is purpose, which is the same thing with propose. As a matter of fact, you would see it there. The word purpose is sourced from a Latin word propose, which is more or less like a request, a setting forth. And this is going to be vital in the next few slides. Don't miss this point, okay? This is going to be vital in the next few slides. Purpose has to do with a proposition. It has to do with an intention or a design. So you would understand from the definition of purpose that it's not fate. Purpose is not fate. Purpose is not destiny. Purpose is not fate. Purpose is not destiny. Just so we are clear. Purpose is not where you're going to end up in. It's the proposition of the journey you are going to take. The proposition of the experiences you're going to have according to design. Purpose is when a man says, okay, let me give you a practical example of what happened before they gave birth to you. So there was an intention by your parents to give birth to a child, and then God put a child in their womb and gave a proposition to the world. Inside you is purpose. That purpose is God's proposition. Okay. So let's make it simple. This is what we understand as purpose. This is the root meaning of purpose. Now, let me take us to the historical context of purpose. I've given us the origin of the word purpose. Let me take us to the historical context, where people who brought out the word, how did they now define it? So there are four basic understanding of purpose in the historical concept. The first one is the ancient Greek philosopher. So the ancient Greek, they had this thing they call teleology, which is more or less like teleology, which is more or less like the study of purpose. So down in the 14th century, they had an entire study of purpose. Like the Greek philosophers sat down to study to study purpose and to put into concept. Some of us still listen and hear things that Greek philosophers do. Most of the things people who study philosophy literally study in school are things that have been postulated by these Greek philosophers. So these Greek philosophers are not new to the thinking and progression stuff. So whatever they found out about purpose should be very important to us. Do you understand? And so the ancient Greek philosophers, especially Aristotle, sorry, what they call Aristotle's, which is, how many of us know that song? Aristotle's the great thinker. So this is literally one of the greatest philosophers of all time. And he came up with the concept of purpose. His concept of purpose is what he calls the final cause. He called purpose the final cause. Now you understand why we have a misconception of purpose. This is where it started from. And so the ancient Greek philosophers postulated or brought out a philosophy that first of all there is purpose. Everybody agrees there is purpose, and they agrees that everything has a reason, but they defined purpose as the final cause, the ultimate purpose, what they call telos. Telos is what they achieved as purpose. And what they resolved was purpose is achieving a good life. That was the translation. And so the entire Greek philosophy, ancient Greek philosophy, resolved in their meeting when they were discussing purpose. At the end of the day, they said, if you achieve a good life, a flourishing life, you have achieved purpose. And this was the foundation of the misconception about purpose that we currently have in today's age. And you understand more why this thing doesn't make sense. The next one is the religious concept. Okay, so whether it has to do with Christianity or Judaism or Islamism, they all believe, first of all, that there is a God-given purpose. Whether you're a Muslim or you're a Christian or Jewish, whichever you are, in the context of religion, these ones believe that first, purpose is God given, especially Christianity. So, Christianity literally links purpose to fulfilling a divine plan. And I'll show you the fifth slide is going to make a lot of sense. So listen. So Jeremiah chapter 29, verse 11. This is in the Bible. God says, "For I know the plans I have towards you, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future." So the idea behind purpose for the religious concept, especially Christians, is that it's in the hands of God. Do you understand that? So purpose is in the hands of God. Now, the Jews, just so we get, the ancient Greek philosophers said, if you live a good life and a flourishing life, you have fulfilled purpose. The Christians say God holds purpose in his hands. Like he is the one that has a plan for you, and fulfilling God's plan for you, it's purpose. Okay. Then the Eastern philosophers. Now, those of you that don't know Eastern philosophers, it has to do with Hinduism, Buddhism, and the rest of the others. What they so so they call it nirvana. They call it nirvana. Nirvana means attaining a state of freedom from suffering, from pain. So, no, do you wonder why Buddhism and Hinduism are people who get monks? Most of them have what they call monks. These are people that extract themselves from war and life. They leave everything that most of us are doing, and they stay in solitude because they believe that fulfillment of purpose has to do with freedom from pain, freedom from suffering, freedom from the circle of rebirth. You know, they call it, one of the words that they use is dharma, which is fulfilling one's duties and responsibilities in life according to their roles. And then achieving purpose is nirvana. So fulfilling purpose, or rather a person's purpose, is often what they call dharma, which is the concept of, if you're a policeman, just do your police work. That is your purpose. If you're a mother, just continue mothering your children. That is a purpose you get. And then in fulfilling purpose, by being a mother, you have to get to a point where you are free from suffering and free from the circle of rebirth and free from whatever that concept is. That is their understanding. As confusing as it is, that is what the Eastern philosophers believed purpose was. And then we come to the modern view. This is the most exciting part. These are Gen Z definition of purpose. And so in this our current world, there's an argument that there is no predestined purpose anywhere. God did not do anything, God did not predestine anything. The simple prescription when it has to do with purpose in our generation is the fact that it is self-determined. All man on his own. that is that is the idea of purpose in this modern view. Whoever you are responsible for however you end up in life. So whether you want, why do you think we are fighting for gay rights, and why do you think this generation is fighting for liberty and liberality? Why do you think? It's because there's an ideology of purpose, and the ideology of purpose for the 20th century, the modern 20th and 21st century, it's the idea that everybody has the right to determine where they end up in, and no government should have a say in that. Do you see where our problems are coming from? The challenge with misunderstanding purpose is that rottenness in our misunderstanding of purpose branches out into the very happenings within our society. This is why the concept of purpose is very important, especially to someone like me who is very concerned and ambitious with respect to world transformation. I literally feel that if we all understand purpose and have the right understanding of purpose, we will literally all be able to live our lives to the best of our ability. Do you understand the point? I believe that the world can be perfect, but the only way the world can be perfect is if you and I can align perfectly to purpose. Okay, let me give you a practical example. Imagine your phone gets faulty, whatever device you're using. Imagine your device gets faulty, and then imagine your device gets faulty, and then imagine that the device is faulty because of the battery, or it's faulty because of the screen, or it's faulty because of the button, or maybe some other thing, or the casing. Do you understand the fact that that phone cannot fully function because one part of it is faulty? The world can only be perfect if everybody aligns to their purpose. Yes. And then let me tell you why this is very important, okay? I feel like going back to the previous slides. Let me do that very quickly. Okay, let's do that. So remember we talked about the ancient Greek philosophers. They defined purpose as the final cause, and then they said purpose is it's everybody should strive to fulfill purpose, and the striving to fulfill purpose is striving to live a good life. That's what they said here. They're striving to live a good life. The religious people say striving to live God's plan for your life. That's purpose. And then the Eastern philosophers, which is like the Buddhists and the rest of the others, they said when you're fulfilling your civil responsibility and you're also working towards being free from the state of suffering and pain and everything, then you'll be fulfilling purpose. And of course, our modern day view says, when it has to do with purpose, every man on his own. Nobody, God cannot even tell you what purpose is. Everybody should stay where they are and do whatever they want to do. Now, to the more important point is these four concepts, which of them makes the most sense? So this is how my preparation went, guys. This is how I was thinking while preparing this. My first thought was, I know very well that these ancient Greek people, they have a problem, and they are the cause. They are the first people to bring out. They are the first people with their definition. So they have a problem, and their problem is this: they define purpose as a final cause, and they said that final cause is living a good life. We know this better than any generation, that there are so many people who are miserable but are in quotes living a good life. There are many people who are flourishing, rich, wealthy, satisfied, but in quotes, they are miserable, they are drinking, they are smoking, they are They are going through all sort of internal frustrations. They feel unfulfilled, yet they are living a good life. So allow me to strike out this. I wish I was using a board I could write on. I would have marked bad on these ancient Greek people. This religious concept, let's leave them first because this one is a bit special. Eastern philosophers, we all know that doing your social responsibility, if you're a child or you're a mother or a father or whatever you're doing, all of us know this very well, that it's a very miserable state to be in. And there is nothing like achieving freedom from suffering in this our world. We all know that there is no freedom from suffering. We all came into this world. We will only stop suffering when we leave. So if we go by the Eastern philosophies, we are literally insinuating that purpose can only be achieved in death. That's the resolution. And so if you go to those modern views, it's way, it's way more miserable than it sounds. Okay, we have created more problems by trying to create our own purpose. We've created more problems. We have created unimaginably disastrous things. Today, there are activists that are fighting for climate change, are fighting against climate change and promoting green energy. Today, there are people that are fighting capitalism. Today, there are people. Do you understand that there are people that are fighting almost every single. Let me be sure you can hear me. Um, Okay, let me be sure you can hear me very clearly. Sorry. Okay, please, if you can hear me and you're following, just drop in the comment section that you're following. Just drop in the comment section that you're following. Okay, so we have this. We in the modern view. Okay, so we that are in the modern view, our idea when it has to do with purpose is the fact that there is liberty. We can do it. So we have so many problems. Some people are fighting in the US, they are the Democrats, they are the Republicans. In Africa, they are the corrupt politicians. We have, by through a quest to create purpose for ourselves, we have brought disaster and different dimensions of dangers into the world. Do you get the point? That there are three philosophies that doesn't just cut out at all. There's a fundamental problem with the ancient Greek philosophy, the Eastern philosophies, and of course our modern view to purpose. But there is one that stands out and that have contextual proofs that it works actually, which is the religious context. So the idea that God, a divine being, puts purpose in you while bringing you into the world, and purpose is his proposal to the world. So God puts purpose inside you, brings you into the world through your mom, and your life, it's a proposition to the world of his purpose. Listen carefully. And then you have the responsibility to now realize the purpose that he has deposited in you and live on that purpose. It's the only one that makes sense. This is the only one that makes sense. So allow me to create way above every other thing you understand about purpose, the idea that purpose is God given but man driven. Purpose is God given but man driven. From the literal meaning of purpose, we understood previously that the concept of purpose means proposal, proposition. And so it's a proposition by God in a man, and you come to this world as a proposal. So everybody in the world can choose whether they want you to live your purpose or not, and then you realize it and decide to work on it. Now, let me bring it to the redefinition of purpose that we have talked about. Now, after going through all this, after I've taken you guys through all this stress, let me bring it down to something that makes a little bit more sense, which is the fact that in the idea of purpose is that purpose is a network. If everybody has a purpose in life, then we can confidently say that everybody has this network of people, of places, and of problems. If purpose is what everybody has, then whatever purpose is must be available to everybody. We cannot say purpose is a good life because not everybody has access to a good life. Some people are born to Donald Trump, and some people are born to Mama Nkechi somewhere in Imo State. Do you understand? So, purpose, if it's truly a universal concept, then it must have a universal meaning. So, it's a network of people, places, and problems. And this is why it is because everything in everybody's life revolves around people. There is always somebody in your life, or there is always somebody you are around. It revolves around places. You cannot be on the air. Do you understand? You're either in one country or you're in one. It doesn't matter where you are. You must be in a place. You are tied to a geographical location, and then you have problems, which I can, just to make it sound nice, I can call it responsibilities. So these three, what I call the three factors of purpose, which is the three P's, have driven over time in history the highest sense of fulfillment and inner satisfaction. Let me tell you what I mean. How many of us have felt the most fulfilled in your life just because of you had specific people around you? Did you realize it? How many of you have felt the most fulfilled in your life just because you were in a particular place? Have you ever felt, how many of you have felt fulfilled in life just because you solved a particular problem? Do you now understand the concept of purpose? If everybody has purpose and then you have found fulfillment randomly in these three-dimensional factors, then I can literally tell you that your purpose is primarily based on people, places, problems. That's what purpose is. Let me give you the concept of it. Remember the first example I gave, the illustration I gave earlier about this teenager who has the purpose, so-called purpose to be a medical doctor. And I told you that purpose is not being a medical doctor. Purpose is the classroom lectures, the tests, the exams, the practicals, and everything the teenager has to go through in becoming a medical doctor. Now, put it in this concept. In every phase of becoming a medical doctor, he has to meet people. Lecturers has to teach him. He has to be in different place at different time. Lecture hall, house, hospital, internship, traveling, whatever it is. And then he always has problems to solve. The first problem may be how to finish a textbook. The second problem will be how to write an exam. The next problem is how to pass a practical. The next problem is how to cram all the bacteria or all the diseases that are related to the lungs. The next problem, do you understand the idea? The idea of purpose is relatively very simple. It's the fact that we always would be within people, within places, and would always have specific problems. So now, I don't know if you understand this. If you understand this, just please let me know you understand this. So let's talk about realizing purpose. I'd established this way earlier, talking about purpose, that you cannot find purpose because purpose is not missing. It's inside you. Do you understand? And the discovery of purpose is contextual. That is correct. But the real thing about purpose is realizing. Have you ever had this experience before? You were with your phone on your hand, but you were looking for your phone. You went in, you went out, you went everywhere looking for your phone. Where's my phone? Where did I keep my phone? How did I keep my phone? So you literally had you literally had a long time going about finding your mobile phone that was on your hand. Did you find your mobile phone or did you realize it? Now, if your mobile phone was somewhere else, you found it, it was missing and you found it. If your mobile phone was with you, it wasn't missing, you only realized you had it. And that is the concept of purpose. His purpose is realized. You just wake up and you begin to say, this, and now I know this. Now I understand this. Now I realize this. And what do I talk about realization? Remember what I said purpose was? It's a network of people, places, and responsibilities or problems. So the realization of purpose is you sitting down and telling yourself, oh, I now realize why I always have this kind of people in my life. I now realize why I always meet this kind of people. I now realize why I always like this kind of people. Now I realize why this kind of people are drawn to me. That is you realizing purpose. Have you ever been to a place and you're like, I don't even know why I'm here? Why am I in this school? Why am I doing this? And all of a sudden, your third or fourth year in school, you just say, hey, I now realize why I needed to attend Unilag. I now realize why I chose to attend, or why I happen to have attended Harvard, or why I happen to have attended Stanford or the University of Ghana. You see, the idea is that you realize purpose when there is this deep realization within you. Some of you, if you sit down and think about your life, especially your life for the last couple, especially your life for the last couple of weeks or months or years, you're going to realize that there are specific problems that you have. And those specific problems have one way of aligning with something I'm going to talk about shortly, your abilities. Now, the realization purpose is not something you discover, I've said. We are created with purpose within us. It is something we realize by understanding what the concept what I've talked about previously. I wouldn't go back to it. You realize purpose by understanding that purpose is a network of people, that purpose is a network of what? Places and problems, and also understanding the religious concept of purpose, that purpose is God given, but man driven. God gives you purpose. You come to earth and you realize the purpose, and then you drive that purpose that God has given you. If you understand those two concepts, then you need to understand this one last thing. One of the highlights to your purpose is the inner alignment. I've talked about the divine configuration. Understanding your purpose is intricately connected to a higher plan, which is God's plan. So, how do you realize this? You have to believe in God to believe in purpose. Because there's no way you will tell me to believe in the phone without believing that somebody manufactured the phone. How does it make sense? How does it make sense to believe that I'm using a good phone and the phone is nice, and yet I don't believe that it was manufactured by a company? So the whole idea here is that you have to believe 100% of the time that God exists and that God has a plan. There's no definition of purpose that makes sense outside the context of a divine being intentionally investing purpose in you. After you have realized that, the second thing you must realize is this: that purpose is within you, deeply rooted. And by believing in yourself, your talents, your passions, your potential, you can drive your purpose. Because a lot of people, especially religious people within the Christian concept, we have no problem believing in God. We have no problem believing in God's plan. We have no problem believing in a God given purpose. But when it comes to believing in yourself, when it comes to believing in the talents God has given you, the skills, the passion, everything God has given you, you become limited. And so, purpose, the full realization of purpose is you must realize God's divine configuration, and you must align internally to everything God has given you. The idea is this. Let me put it in full concept here. The idea is this. The idea is that you as an individual would become, oh, how would I put it? Sorry, let me go to the next slide. This will help you. Being purpose driven. So purpose isn't something you do passively. Oh, do I do this? Okay, let me explain this very well. You as an individual, you as a person, you have people in your life, you go to different places, you have different problems. Believing and realizing that all these things, God is bringing them to you for a purpose. That is the first dimension to this whole thing, the divine configuration. Understanding that you are not just meeting people, but God is intentionally bringing these things to you. That's one. Two, understanding that There's something inside you that has the potential and the ability to surmount or align with these things. So, in the context of purpose being a network of problems, you have to understand that you have the capacity to solve these problems. You have to understand that you have the capacity to build those relationships. You have to understand that you have the capacity to go to those places that you are driven towards and you feel that inner connection with. Do you understand? Do you get the whole point? So, purpose, there's a divine configuration and there's an inner alignment. I'll be rounding up. So, if you have questions, you may want to really take note of the questions before I get back to the life. Okay, now being purpose driven. I'm sure some of us have heard of purpose driven life. But have you asked yourself, what does it really mean to be purpose driven? Remember, I said purpose isn't something you do passively. It's the idea of purpose is not that you don't get admission to be a medical doctor and you sit down and you end up becoming a medical doctor in 7 years. It never happens. It's not a passive approach to life, it's an active and dynamic approach to life. Purpose is not a passive approach to life. Purpose is an active and a dynamic approach to life. Okay, it requires you pay attention to the people that are around you. Purpose requires you pay attention to the people around you. It requires you pay attention to the places you find yourself in and the problems you encounter, and that you understand that there is a reason for each. This is what it means to be purpose driven. Over time, you will start to recognize what? Patterns. And you start to understand why you meet certain people and why you're in specific places and why you face particular problems. That's the idea of being purpose driven. It's the idea that I am conscious of the fact that all my life experiences are aligned some mysterious ways by a divine being. One, two, I have what it takes to surmount and manage all these things, and then I begin to recognize the patterns. That is what realizing purpose is the patterns. Is the patterns. I used to tell some people that when I was 11 years old, I watched a movie. I cannot remember the movie. I think it was Kyle. Is it Kyle XY? It's no. I can't remember the movie, but it was a very old movie. Very, I think 2004, 2005, 2003. It was a very old movie. And so I'd watched this movie, and it was a science fiction movie. I used to watch Dexter too. There's this cartoon called Dexter. Those of you that are old enough to know, you would know that so those of you that are sorry, those of you that are old enough, you'll be old enough to know Dexter, which is like the cartoon. And so you'll be old enough to know Dexter. And so I had watched this cartoon and I had also come across this movie, and I just had this drive towards science and tech. I think I was 10, 11 or thereabout, 9, 10, 11. I can't remember very clearly. So I'd watched these things and I told myself that I was going to build a company. I was going to start a tech company. 4 years down the line, I forgot about it. I literally forgot about it. It literally took it literally took 10 years for me to just realize and be like, wait, oh, maybe somehow this business thing is inside me. Just maybe somehow it's part of my purpose. I realized the purpose after 10 years of what? An initial thought of a desire. And so we need to understand that these things are mysteriously aligned. They may not look or sound very clear, but as a matter of fact, they are mysteriously what? Aligned. Okay. So, how are you purpose driven? Number one, you have to be deliberate about every connection and experience you have. Number two, you have to have a strong sense of responsibility to fulfill the opportunities that life presents you with. You cannot keep running away from problems. You cannot keep pitying yourself and being petty about your life. The idea of, oh, my life, I cannot pay school fees, this thing is bad, this thing is going wrong, I want to die, things are not going fine, I want to commit suicide. That's not what it takes to be purpose driven. You need to understand that you have to take responsibility for the opportunities and the challenges that life presents you with. And the last one, and the very important one, is you need to be careful about every decision you make. You need to ensure that you stay with your convictions. Because one of the things that you're going to know, which I'm sure some of us have realized about our generation, is the fact that, and it's very funny but true, is the fact that there are so many reasons why you shouldn't fulfill purpose, and there are so many reasons why you shouldn't live purpose driven. What are the so many reasons why you shouldn't fulfill purpose? Other people are shouting on social media. Everybody's talking about a new thing coming about. There are so many reasons why you should choose different careers, different paths. You need to be careful and decisive. Okay, you need to be careful and decisive. So yes. So this is basically everything we have. I want to come back to the live session because I'll just take a question or two. Okay, yes, we made it 5 minutes past. Yes, so if you have any question, this is the time I would love to take your question. I would love to take one or two questions if you have any, and then we'll call it a night. We have successfully done this within 1 hour. I was afraid we would not be able to do it. So if you have questions or if you have anything we need to look at, just kindly drop it. I'm looking at the comment section right now, and you can just point it out to me. The truth is, very sincerely, I'm not so satisfied with the breaking down of this. I think I was trying very hard to ensure we do this very fast, and I did not really touch as much point as I wanted to. So uh, we'll have to do this again some other time. I'm not satisfied with this. I would have really loved to dig way deeper and have a way more interactive this thing. So we're going to have another one, but maybe some other time. But if you have any question, please drop your question. Let me see. If you have any question, drop your question. If you have any question in the group chat, you can just drop a question also on the group chat, and then I would as well look at it from there. Have any question, you can also drop on the group chat. Now, those of you that are joining, you have to look for a way to. So, how to gain clarity with purpose? Thank you, Blessing, for that beautiful question. How to gain clarity with purpose? Does anybody have another question? Because it looks like something we are going to spend a little bit more of the time on. Does anybody have another question? So I'll just take all the question at once. Okay, any other question? So let me answer Blessing's question. So let me answer Blessing's question. Now, basically, when you're remember I mentioned something that has to do with you being intentional about your experiences and the people you meet and the places you find yourself in, and being conscious of it, and believing in a divine purpose and opportunities around it. Now, lack of clarity with purpose comes from doubt. It comes from doubt. When you begin to doubt your connection or the reason or why you're meeting the people that you meet, when you begin to doubt why you're in specific places, when you begin to doubt the problems you have, you run away from them, you're always disqualifying yourself from your problems, I can assure you that you will lack clarity in purpose. Clarity in purpose comes from fully understanding what I had just talked about over the last 1 hour. Fully understanding the fact that God gave you purpose, you were born with purpose inside you, and by believing that from the day you stepped into this world, your mom, your dad was part of your purpose, your brothers and your sisters were part of your purpose, the place you grew up in, I don't care whether it's in Abuja, Lagos, or the UK, it's part of your purpose. The people you met in primary school, secondary school, the university, they are part of your purpose. The company you work with, the church you attended, the church you're attending, you need to understand and believe, irrespective of how you made those decisions, these things are fundamentally part of your purpose. So when you embrace them and you take responsibility for everything around you, And you do these three things I mentioned when I talked about being purpose driven. I mentioned you're intentional and deliberate about every connection and experience. You have a strong sense of responsibility to fulfill the opportunities presented to you in life, and you are decisive. You're going to gain clarity in purpose. And then allow me to also say this for a fact that clarity in purpose is not something you attain once. It's definitely not something you attain one. It's not something you attain for the first time. It's not something you attain. It's progressive. So you may not be clear on your purpose now. I can guarantee that if you continue looking at where you are now, what you're doing now, you will definitely gain clarity in purpose over the next couple of months or years in your life. That's just the truth. Clarity in purpose is gotten over time. For instance, some years ago, so, for instance, some years ago, which was like 2, 3, 4 years ago, I did not have as much confidence, as much clarity in my purpose as I do now. As a matter of fact, I'll be very sincere. One of the reasons that has given me the confidence to do this class is because for the first time in my life, I have been able to tie every experience and everything I have to my purpose. I have gotten the highest degree of realization I have ever gotten in my life in this year. And so it's something that will take time. For me, it took over 20 years to get here. For you, it may take a little bit longer or even shorter. But this class, this SGM is the hack. This SGM is the hack. That's what I'm giving you. Okay, Rachel is asking a question. How do I know I'm aligned with God's purpose for my life? Like taking the right decision and the right career path and more. Now, this is a very interesting question. I love this question, Rachel. Thank you so much. This is a very, sorry, this is a very, 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 very interesting question. I just pinned the question so those of us coming can look at it. So Rachel said, "How do you know does she know she's making the right decision? How does she know she's aligned with God's purpose?" You see, that's the beautiful thing. That's a beautiful thing about purpose. Remember, I said one thing and one very important thing that you must believe in God and in a superior plan. So when you when the idea that you have to wait or you have to, how do I put it again? You have to be sure. Okay, let me give you a practical example. How were you sure of the family, or how did you know that the family you got into was the right family? How did you know? How did you know that your mother is the right mother for you or your father is the right father for you? You didn't know. How don't you know? Because you were not there to make decision. Now that you are old enough to make decision, how do you know that you're doing the right things? Just decide. Let me show you how the chain works. You guys are going to love this. Let me show you how this chain works. Your mom and your dad, how did they know they were the right people? What did they do that proves they were the right people? You're not sure, right? So you don't know whether they did not know whether they were the right people. They just got married. The both of them gave birth to you. How you know the decisions you're making is the right one? The same way your mom and your dad made the decisions that gave birth to God's purpose in your life. That's the same way your decision now will birth God's purpose in your life in the coming months, in the coming years. This is the reason why purpose is confusing, because it doesn't make sense to have faith. Do you understand? It doesn't make sense to have faith. But if a superior being higher than you could literally put purpose inside you and bring you into this world, then he has his plan and he has everything figured out. You really have very little or nothing to bother about. I don't know if you understand me, Rachel. Any As long as you make decisions on the best of your knowledge, the best of your moral right, every single thing you can do to the best of your ability, I can guarantee that you're going to really have very great results. I can guarantee. I can guarantee your purpose is really going to work out fine. It's not as simple as it sounds, but trust me, it's an easier way to see it. It's an easier way to see it. Okay. So, does anybody have a question before we call it a night? We are still going to go on this exact thing again. I'll have to go back and work a little bit more on it. and then we'll go again. So we'll do redefining purpose part 2, and maybe something make deeper, clearer, and more intentional than this. Okay. So in the absence, I will just, I'm not seeing any other question. Let me just, okay. I don't see any other question. Okay. On that note, once again, thank you so much, everybody, for being here. And thank you for your amazing commitment, especially those of you that have stayed this long. Um, I think I did a fair work trying to make sure it's on 1 hour. Thank you so much, and I would see you some other time. Cheers.